Platt, and today we try an original from the oldest brewery in the world. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. So the particular beer we have today is called Original or Original Premium, is what it's referred to by Weihenstephaner Brewing. Most people in the world, at least from most people's opinion, is this the oldest brewery in the world. We previously reviewed their Fist beer. Actually, part of the reason why I'm putting this beer episode on at this time and particular brewery is it's October, early October, late September. We're in Oktoberfest time, one of my favorite times of year. However, this year I just noticed that either the Oktoberfests that were available in my market, I've already reviewed. I just didn't see anything that jumped out at me, but I wanted to kind of pay homage to Oktoberfest, so I thought I would go to the heart of Germany and the oldest brewery in the world, and obviously the oldest brewery in Germany, Weihenstephaner. A little background on Weihenstephaner. They claim that their origins date back to the year 1040, almost 1,000 years, which is absolutely amazing. However, until the 1950s, they had claimed that it was the year 1146. However, supposedly around this time, they had found documentation that the Bishop of Freising at the time had granted brewing rights to the monastery there. Now, a lot of people say that documentation, maybe something lost in translation, wasn't necessarily what we think it is. And, some people say, ha-ha, shenanigans. However, there probably is a little more of the story. Now, the first official documentation for the brewery is the year 1675, official government documentation per se. However, with a little research, you find out that actually the abbey, the monastery where the brewery started, dates all the way back to the year 725. St. Corbian built the monastery with the help of a dozen other monks on, I think it's called Nuremberg Hill, there in the town. However, a few years later in the year 768, there's documentation, written documentation, saying that there was a hop garden somewhere in the vicinity, either on the grounds of the monastery or near. Now, back then, it was pretty much monks that brewed. There was no homebrew shop or YouTube, so it generally was the monks that brewed. So most likely, there was some brewing going on premise all the way back to probably the year 725 or 730, something like that. So not total shenanigans there on claiming that, is that old. Move ahead, actually, the year 955, even before the brewery became quote-unquote official, they'd already had a disaster. The Hungarians had invaded at the time, destroyed the monastery, but the monks came back and rebuilt, and this unfortunately becomes a trend for the brewery because between the years 1086 and 1463, the monastery is destroyed or burnt down and rebuilt 4 different times. So before Christopher Columbus had come to America, the brewery had already been destroyed and rebuilt 5 different times. You gotta give it to those monks. They definitely stick to it. Move ahead to the year 1516, and the Bavarian Beer Purity Law, also known as the Reinheitsgebot, was passed. All the beers the brewery produces today still fall underneath those guidelines. They're not doing a marshmallow triple IPA or any gummy bear session, what have you. They stick to the classic German styles of beer. Move ahead to the year 1803. The monastery was shut down. Secularization had hit Europe. The church's popularity had waned, and they decided to close the monastery, but they sold the brewery to the state of Bavaria. They still own the brewery today. And move ahead about 50 years to 1852, and Bavaria had decided to move the agricultural school to the premises there in Weihenstephaner, which also meant they brought, the ag school also had a brewing school inside, so you brought a brewing school to the world's oldest brewery. Kind of beautiful synergy there, and they've done some really interesting things to help the art of brewing. Lastly, in 1921, the brewery officially changed its name to Weihenstephaner. Now before, I'm not even going to pronounce what it was, but basically it translated into the Bavarian State Brewery. Real quick, let's talk about some of the other beers. Again, they all follow the German beer purity laws of 1516, which basically says beer is only water, hops, barley, and yeast. That is it. No adjuncts, no flavoring, no wheat, rye, nothing. Those 4 ingredients, and that is it. We're going to start off with Crystal Weiss beer, 5.4% ABV, comes in with 16 IBUs. This actually is an ale. All they say in the beer purity law is that it's yeast. That at the time they had not really distinct ale yeast and lager yeast. Everybody thinks all the beers in Germany are lagers, and for the most part that's true, but technically ales fall inside that beer purity law. Next is Vitus, 7.7% ABV. This is a strong wheat bock. However, if you try it, and it's a great beer, it's a little lighter in color than a standard bock, so don't let that throw you off. This is a wheat bock, but really good beer if you like a strong malty beer. Check that out. Next is Corbinian, 7.4% ABV. This is a Doppelbock that was created as an homage to the founding monk, Saint Corbian, that founded the monastery there. Lastly, 1516 Killer Beer, 5.6% ABV. This was brewed for the 500th anniversary of the Rhine High School boot that we just had back in 2016. It's mind-boggling to think we've had a beer purity law around that long, but that beer was produced for that. Well, before we try this particular beer, though, let's check out the stats. Okay, so before we try this beer, like I said, this is kind of my substitute Oktoberfest beer this year. I apologize, like I said, just couldn't find anything good. But I like to every year kind of go over Oktoberfest, kind of like around Christmas, you have to tell the Christmas story. Well, I'm going to tell the Oktoberfest story. Its origins date back to the year 1810 when King Ludwig I got married. They wanted to make a real big ceremony, make a big deal out of it, and they decided to hold the reception for the entire city of Munich. They invited the entire city out. They held it outside the city walls. Of course, food, beverage, beer was flowing. But actually, the highlight of the first Oktoberfest was horse races. That really caught people's attention. It was a huge part of the ceremony. And of course, this was a big hit for everybody. Free food and beverage, beautiful fall afternoon in Germany. You gotta be kidding. And they liked it so much that when 1811 came around, they're like, you know what, let's do this again. And they decided to make this an annual affair. Now, somewhere along the way, they dropped off the horse racing, but they kept the most important part is the beer. And we've had, pretty much Oktoberfest and beers, and it's shifted from outside the city walls to inside the city walls to inside these massive beer gardens, which you can go to today. Of course, they hold Oktoberfest, smaller versions throughout the world, even here in the U.S. Unfortunately, 3 times in history, Oktoberfest has been canceled. World War I, World War II, and COVID. Let's hope we don't revisit any of those anytime soon. Well, enough about that. Let's drink a classic German beer from the world's oldest brewery. All right, now this particular beer is a Helles, so this is going to be more of what you would think of a German-style golden lager to be. We got nice white foamy head, plenty of bubbles, plenty of carbonation. Oh, light hint of maltiness, not a lot of hops. The Helles, compared to like maybe a Pilsner Lager, is not going to have quite the hops. 21 IBU, which is not bad. There's balance there, but it's not a real hoppy beer. Let's go in for a try. Man, that's just nice. Easy drinker. Again, compared to another German-style lager, the Pilsner, it's not going to have that hop crispness. A little more malty, a little more sweetness retained on the palate. Body-wise, a little fuller than our domestic. How like Bud, regular Miller High Life, Coors or Banquet have a little more body than their light versions. This is another kind of step in that direction, body-wise. Still a real easy drinker. Reminds me a little bit of some of the pale Euro lagers that if you were to put in a clear bottle or a green bottle, I could see where this would get skunky, and I could see where it would turn into those style of beers. Brown bottle, though, we don't get that skunk. We just get a nice malty, lighter-bodied lager. And again, very drinkable. I could definitely envision myself with a big quart of quart mug or liter mug of stein of beer and Prost, with this. Yeah, overall, nice beer, nice simple beer. I said this before on the channel. I love these German-style beers because they're just simply executed well. And part of the thing with making a beer that doesn't have a ton of ingredients is it really focuses you to nail your job right. Because you can't cover it up with marshmallow or whatever, flavor additive or adjunct. You got 4 ingredients, you better do it right. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.